for some of them to start to get the idea that Bitcoin is the innovation, and they should come back to basic first principles.
Well, there are now even bigger reasons for regulators to come in and intervene, look at the space with a microscope. So are you concerned at all that given this environment of volatility with crypto platforms blowing up, that this will negatively impact Bitcoin's adoption with regulators?
I'm not concerned. In fact, I think that a lot of the pain that the Bitcoin community has absorbed is because of the slow response of the regulators. If the regulators had moved faster in order to, if they had moved more aggressively in 2018 or 2019, you wouldn't have seen all of these, crypto casinos spin up the way they've spun up. One of two things will happen with regulators. Mm-hmm. If they said, okay, well, you want to issue a digital security, you have to do it this way, fill out these forms, and every month or every week or every quarter, this is what you do. Then what you would see is a collapse of all the true scams. Mm-hmm. You would see the VC that have been trying to launch these other things, they would have to go through a registration process. Now you would actually understand, and you have the full disclosure and transparency. Many entrepreneurs would say, this is too hard. You get the sense that some of them never bothered to hire a lawyer or get a legal opinion, right? It's like, I have to pay for lawyers and accountants in order to be in the business. This is too hard. You'll see a rationalization. 99% of all the tokens will go away. You will see some stable coins. There's a bona fide need for a coin like a Circle or a Tether. The world wants it. Maybe not in the U.S., but outside the U.S., the world wants it. Mm-hmm. So I think you would see some of those. I think you would see some digital securities. I think you would see, you'd probably see actresses and musicians from the crypto casinos. Right? Because the crash of Terra, the crash of Luna, the crash of Celsius, the crash of FTX, these have been painful events, and Bitcoin is cross-collateralized, and they're selling Bitcoin when they're crashing their doggy coins and their hamster coins and their yo-yo coins. And so shutting that down will be good for Bitcoin. It'll take the volatility out of Bitcoin. And then these other regulatory guidelines, at the end of the day, if you simply said, you're not a commodity unless you're an asset without an issuer, it would knock out the top 50 coins other than Bitcoin, and every institutional investor would say, I get it, Bitcoin is special. Bitcoin is a commodity. Ethereum, Solana, Ripple, name every other coin that ever had an ICO, every coin that ever had a pre-mine, every coin that has a centralized foundation, a management team. Every other coin would be deemed as a security, and as a security, they would all have to make fair disclosures. When they made those disclosures, 95% of them would collapse.
Well, these are the growing pains, and I know that going back to what you said about a teachable moment, it makes me think of the letter that was just put out by Ross Stevens of NYDIG, who talks about what happened with crypto at large, how we need to treat the people that lost money kindly, and he shared a personal anecdote about his own lessons in risk management. You have bought Bitcoin at the bottom as well as toward the top, and so I'm just curious from your own experience, what lessons can you share from all of your experience with risk management?
Well, I think one of the lessons is you have to separate your P&L from your balance sheet. So if the way that you're making money is in Ross's letter, he points out that they make money with 10 different strategies. One of them is Bitcoin. The other 9 strategies are firmly grounded in the conventional economy of the world. So if you're a doctor, you stay a doctor, you're the best doctor you can be, you serve your patients the best, and you maximize your income as a doctor. And then on your balance sheet, you have assets, and on your balance sheet you would have a variety of assets. Whatever property you're going to hold for a long period of time, you could have a diversified portfolio of property of digital property like Bitcoin, and you might very well hold is I have a mortgage against a house and the bank's not going to show up at my door and value my house down by 80% on Monday and then ask me to repay the mortgage on Tuesday. Right? But, use common sense, right? If you were to borrow against a stock, like a liquid asset like Apple stock or S&P index, or even against Bitcoin, you want to be ready for 80% drawdown. And most conventional risk managers, they would, for example, they would never advance more than 50% loan to value. And then when you get close to that, you would think, okay, well, now I got to be ready for a 50% drop from here. And so if you have a very conservative view, right, on liquid assets, you would say you never want to go beyond 20% loan to value on a liquid asset, even if you think it's rock solid. Of course, if you're borrowing against a token printed out of thin air, right, like FTT, well, that can go to zero overnight because there's nothing backing it. So I think be conservative with the way that you use debt, currency. Then I think you'll probably be in good stead.
It seems to so many of us that a lot of your purpose now has to do with Bitcoin education. Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
I think we need to educate a lot more people. What keeps me up at night is that there are so many mainstream influencers, so many policy makers, so many investors and money managers that still don't understand half an hour or an hour worth of Bitcoin fundamentals. But the world is still full of incredible numbers of people at every level, from the top ranks of our government to leaders, captains of industry, down to rank and file. The world's full of people that don't understand the theory of money. They don't understand what money is, right? They would say, oh, money is a medium of exchange. Okay, so therefore I guess the peso is just as good as the dollar, is just as good as Bitcoin, because they're all just mediums of exchange to somebody, right? And so the lack of awareness of the theory of money, that's something that keeps you up at night. The world is full of people that don't understand the power of an open, permissionless monetary network, and the Instagram and the WhatsApp network. Twitter was that red-headed stepchild, the one that was kicked around, that wasn't appreciated. But at its core, Twitter is the global network for public speech. And if you were a public figure and you wanted to go on the record and memorialize and to verify your speech, Twitter is that network. There's no reason why that network shouldn't be subscribed to by everyone that reads, right? It should have, I think they had 300 million users. It should have 6 billion to 8 billion users. Let's say 1 billion aren't paying attention, but why aren't there 5 billion people on the Twitter network?